Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Hey, everyone. Before we get started with the show, I'm excited to announce two things. First is that my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, is now live on Amazon. So go get it. The second thing is we have a new sponsor, Qualified.com. I'm going to tell you about them in the next couple seconds here, and also how you can get a free copy of my book thanks to them. So who are these people? Well, Qualified is the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Sales reps can have real-time, personalized conversations with who? Your hottest website visitors. So I want you to know, I don't just partner with anyone. I genuinely love these guys. And the platform, we use it at my company. Our sales team loves it. We've closed a lot of deals based on it, had a lot of great conversations with prospects too. So, a lot of marketing these days is what? Hurry up and wait, right? Fill out this form. And then if we pass you over to sales, maybe you'll swap 6 emails with them to find a good time to talk. But what if a prospect is doing research right now and they would chat now? Why not give them the opportunity? So the best part is your company actually decides what leads are worth a live chat. There's a lot of noise out there. You don't want to talk to everyone. So Qualified actually connects to Salesforce and Pardot, and it's able to pull in lead and contact information so you can specifically know if you're talking to a VIP, a VP, a decision maker. It's really kind of like magic. Now, if you don't know who someone is, well, what happens then, Casey? Well, that's when the bots come in handy. Chat bots can then ask questions to further qualify a lead, find out if maybe this is someone you do want to talk to. And they can book meetings while your sales team is out. And they can wake up the next morning with a bunch of meetings on their calendar. Now, here's the promo. If you are a company that wants to give your sales team this ability, right, to be able to talk to decision makers right when they're on your website, do this. Go to qualified.com and start a chat, right? They use their own tool, of course. Start a chat. Tell them that Casey sent you. If you have Salesforce Pardot, when you schedule and then do a demo, they will send you a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed. Not bad, right? Well, it's only while supplies last. So hop on this thing today. And that's it for sponsors. Let's get to the show.
All right, here it is. Well, you've all been waiting for another episode of the show. And I am excited because we're going to introduce a really cool guest. He is stoked. He is pumped. He's a B2B marketing expert. It's all about the communications. It's all about getting your message across. He's a brand strategist. He loves analytics. We're going to talk all about how those two things can combine. The Director of Marketing Communications at Siffron, Robb Northrup. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Casey?
Good. So, hey, this is our marketing leadership series. We're here to talk strategy, understand, pick your brain, and get some takeaways. So I want to pass you the hammer. Here it is. It's virtual because the real one's back at the office. This is Thor's hammer. So
Gotcha.
take this hammer. Here you go. And smash for me some kind of myth, bogus strategy, misconception that just drives you crazy.
Yeah, the one that gets me is the idea that we have to be everywhere and do everything.
Right.
Something we used to refer to as spray and pray, right? You send out 1 million of whatever it is, and just hope that some of that works.
Right.
Years ago, that would be sending out thousands of postcards or mailers or catalogs. We used to create catalogs for our products and send out literally tens of thousands of catalogs.
Right.
And there were some assumptions you could make and activity increases, but just the idea that you had to send all this stuff out, and then when things started to transition more to digital, I think there was a hope that some of that would go away. Instead, I think it sort of increased because email was a lot cheaper than mailing a catalog or a postcard, right? They're free.
Right.
When that happens, okay, well, now we can send all kinds of email blasts to tens of thousands of people.
Right.
And And then, social media. Well, we've got all these platforms we can post social media posts endlessly. And just, again, spray and pray, but now it's the digital version.
Right. And you make that transition, at least when the catalog costs money, you had to think about it. Okay. Well, we're going to
Yeah.
spend a lot of money here, guys and gals. Let's make this the best damn catalog this side of the Mississippi. But when you go to the free email or the free social, a tweet is free, an email costs you $0. So it's like, wow, I guess we could just send these things out. Who cares? Let me just send out the next campaign this week, and who cares if the quality's good?
Exactly.
Dang.
And especially if you get into, having, in our case, we have literally thousands of products. So if you think about the amount of content you got to create to cover all the different product lines or customer segments and all, it's very mind numbing to think of the sheer volume of stuff you got to create. So of course, when you're doing it at that scale and that many different things, you're going to suffer some quality if you're just constantly doing that spray and pray method of, just posting as much stuff as you can everywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, you can start out by saying, be everything, do everything, be everyone and do everything. And it's like, okay, yeah, just go do the impossible. Sales, I need you to do 30 phone calls and, close half of them. And, IT, I want you to do this and so and so and so and so. Marketing, I actually want you to do everything. So everyone else has like an encapsulated job with a sort of functionality. Marketing, it's like, we're not really sure what you do, so I need you just to do
Exactly.
10 times as much as everyone else, just so we're sure that I think we're getting some work out of you. It's crazy.
And you get the other people that think they sort of know what marketing should be because they
Oh,
see
right.
other stuff on, I saw our competitors on social media posting all this stuff. So you should be posting all this stuff. It's like, I don't know
Right.
if that's 100% true.
And just because the competitors did it, we had this conversation the other day. We're looking at some copy from some competitors for a particular client, and it was like, okay, they say it this way, and a lot of them say it this way. Is that because they've all listened to the customer and they're on the right track, or are they all just listening to each other and sort of we're all in this delusional bubble, but really the customer wants something totally different? I don't know, but I tend to want to know what the customer says more than anything.
Exactly.
Huh. So how do you, I see how we got into this be everything, do everyone, do everyone. I don't know about that. Probably do everything.
That's a different marketing twist.
That's a different kind of marketing right there, people. So yeah, show's over. Show's over, people. Get out of here. We're all done. We can't do any more after that. So let me be careful when I read this. Be everything, do everything. Kind of marketing, spray and pray. So I know how we got into this mess. How do we get out of it?
Well, I think there's a few different things you have to consider.
Yeah.
Number one is what are your company's, goals? What are the actual objectives that you're trying to tie anything that you're doing to? My frustration is the idea of having to do something without understanding what am I tying it to? Anything I do should have an outcome that is driving towards a specific goal, specific company target. That could be a revenue goal. That could be, a customer, new customer goal. Could be increasing sales with existing customers. So, what am I aiming at? And then what are our strategic products or, product segments that we're wanting to focus on too?
Yeah.
So, in our business, we have, a variety of revenue goals, new customer growth, existing customer growth, strategic products, core products, so it's really understanding, what matters at the top level.
I like that. I like the way you phrase those too, because sometimes I get wrapped around the axle of I need to make them all SMART goals, but just saying the focus, the new customer growth, the existing customer growth, driving business from partner growth, so I like that. You've got some key target areas, and goals for the year, and then you can have other metrics underneath them, and you can have initiatives under that. That's cool.
Yeah, because you think about what is it going to take to break into a new market or a new customer
Right.
versus build on an existing customer, or what
Right.
is it going to take to launch a new product versus an iteration of the product.
Right.
Those are very different scenarios that you got to build, content that you've got to build, research you've got to do. So I think
So true.
it's important to understand those top level goals so that when you get to the things you have to do in marketing, you understand the content you have to develop, who it is you're talking to, and what things you have to implement and how to measure those, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna launch a campaign around a new product, what am I trying to get? What is my handoff to sales? What
Yeah. It's true.
and what does sales need? So it's sort of that communication. Whatever my goals are as marketing has to tie to whatever sales goals are. Because if I'm handing off a bunch of leads that aren't the ones that sales is looking for, well, that doesn't do any good either. I've wasted my time.
Align the goals. Yeah. Cool. Putting the goals first, aligning them to sales. I like that. I was just the other day I was talking about, we do a lot of webinars at Chesh, and me personally, I've been doing so many webinars. It was like, okay, webinars. But then I'm like, wait a minute. What are the goals of these webinars anyways? Of course it's to teach people, but what else? Like, how does it align to our company goals, to our marketing goals, to our sales goals? We had to really, think about it. And then what the magic was, as soon as we changed our thinking and we started looking at the goals, and a whole bunch of stuff comes out of it. Like, oh, okay, maybe we should emphasize the call to action, a little bit better, instead of just being like, oh yeah, hey, contact us or whatever, or do this next step. It's like, no, the next step is the thing. Like the whole reason you're joining this webinar is so you will do this next step. And It doesn't mean you want to sacrifice the quality. We're not spraying and praying, but we also need to have a goal in mind so that we're doing something, we're moving forward. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you want to know what you're aiming for. Nobody likes to do what they feel at the end of the day is pointless work.
Yeah.
If my team is working on something, or if I ask them to do something, ideally, I've given them like the broader picture of why are we doing any of what we're doing, because some things can seem like busy work, and and there's some things that are. There's natural pieces that get sent down from the C-suite that say, hey, we want you to do this. It's like, okay, I don't get that, but okay, that's what we have to do. And there's some things that are, some of that ongoing brand building awareness that you just sort of maintain and keep up with. But at the end of the day, I think you want to focus your energies on the things that are really going to pay off.
Yeah.
Or at least that you can measure and see, okay, that works, that doesn't work. This would have worked better if I would have done this, or things like that.
Right. Huh. Good stuff. How do you go about measuring it? What's your take on measurement?
I'm a big fan of measurement. It's all sort of wrapped up in how good are your systems to measure. We have CRM, we have marketing automation. I think there's still that chasing the unicorn of sales and marketing alignment kind of thing.
Tell me about that. What's the unicorn?
Well, it's hard to find.
Like it just doesn't exist, or
yeah. Well,
you don't believe in unicorns, Rob?
I do believe in them. I think they're very hard to find.
Yes, like
no, but I think it's getting, if your organization doesn't have that culture where the two goals are derived at the same time. Like, we're going to do these things from a sales standpoint, and these are the way we're going to support them on a marketing standpoint. Sales has their initiative, and it's revenue. And hopefully they have a CRM system, and hopefully they're utilizing that CRM system 100%, at least 90%.
Right.
I've had in the past where, the sales team sort of uses CRM, and if they're not sort of mandated or forced to use it, then, it's sort of garbage in, garbage out on the
Right.
CRM side. They may or may not follow up on, or we've had, historically where you have, a lot of our businesses are with our existing customers. So I might pass a new lead on an existing customer.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of converting that lead and working from the lead, they'll just go back to the original customer record and the campaign, that whole
Right.
attribution stuff. And when you try and explain attribution to the sales team, they're like, oh, what, he's trying to take credit for my sale? It's like, no, like just trying to justify what we're doing.
Right.
And there's many reasons for why, sales reps don't necessarily dive into CRM like they should. Some of it, maybe at the C-suite level where, maybe the VP of sales just doesn't value it, doesn't enforce it. There's often a notion, well, to enter all the stuff into CRM takes too much time.
Sure.
I should be out there selling, not entering things into a CRM. And there's a certain amount of, I'll call it IP protection, intellectual property protection. So what a sales rep knows about a customer is their intellectual property, their sort of safeguard,
Oh, geez,
right?
really? Wow.
And so if they put all the information in the CRM of everything that there's to know about the customer, I'm not saying that's 100% across the board either.
That's funny.
But there's a certain amount of that, I think, that exists out in the world of sales, where it's like, okay, I'm going to put in the things I need to put in, but I'm not going to, give away everything I know about this customer because, that's my relationship and that's sort of my intellectual property, if you will. My value is my relationship to the customer.
They do some crazy things over there on the sales side. That's some individual thinking right there. I would be thinking, let me get this in the CRM because I'm going to forget it as soon as I get on my next phone call. You mentioned the attribution. I was looking at in a Salesforce account the other day, and we were looking at the opportunity, and they all had lead sources. That was convenient. The problem was the lead source from the lead wasn't carrying over to the lead source in the opportunity. So technically, all the data that people had been looking at on the opportunity side, it was correct for a few things whenever sales had made it so, but at the same time, all of the marketing data didn't carry over. So we were looking at two different types of things where one side might say Dreamforce and the other side says like sales sourced. It's like, okay, maybe you did source this, but it was actually at an event. So we need to modify that source there.
Yeah. And that would be another reason why, your sales team wouldn't be using CRM very much, is that, if you have a platform that's either not a good platform or isn't configured properly or is just a pain to use, then, they don't want to use it either. And from the marketing side, I mean, if I'm passing things over and they're getting jumbled over there as well, those technical issues can definitely be, probably one of the biggest drawbacks to using any of those marketing automation platforms or CRM.
Yeah, especially when it comes to sales, like usability is so key, right? I think we spend a lot of time, and I know there's a lot of partners out there that are all about the tech. It's like, okay, cool, but you got gooey human creatures using this tech. So it could be the sharpest stuff on the block, but if it looks terrible or looks overwhelming, your gooey little humans are not going to use it. And that's the whole point. So, it's almost like less on the tech side, more on the human side, just usability. And are they going to actually enter data? If you can only ask for one thing, what would you ask for? Okay, you get two things now. What would you ask for? As opposed to fill out all 12 things, and they're just going to go use their notepad at that point.
Right.
It's crazy. Yeah. Well, hey, you mentioned on the prep call, there's this phenomenon going on, this TV show you had seen. I need you to catch me up on speed on this because I haven't seen it because I got rid of Netflix when they got rid of Frasier. Oh, there we go. There's the background. There's the background.
Yeah, for those only listening to the podcast, you're missing the glory that is Joe Exotic and his tiger as my Zoom background.
You gotta leave it on for the rest of the show.
No, I'm not leaving
bring
that
it
on.
back. Oh, okay.
I'm sure there's a copyright infringement that we'll run into somewhere along the line.
Nah, maybe
Um,
never. You know what? That's how you know you've made it. When you get a cease and desist from someone, put that thing back up there. I'll frame that thing. It'll be like, well, I got a cease and desist from who's it? Netflix? I got a cease and desist from Netflix. How about that?
yeah, whoever.
On the wall. Okay, so
No,
I got rid of Netflix. I don't know this Tiger King thing, but I hear about it. I hear it's the thing. What is it? What is going on? Explain this to
oh
me.
man, it's like watching. I explain it's like watching a driving past a gruesome car accident, um, and you can't, you shouldn't be looking, and it's really just vile and disgusting, but you can't look away, and you
Right.
slow down, you stop, and you just keep looking at something that
Right.
you
You're
just
looking
can't
for like
believe
a
you're
white
seeing.
sheet over someone or something.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
it's
like,
just
oh
like
God, what am I keep driving? Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Right.
It's sort of that premise. I I find it amazing, what people will watch on
Yes.
Netflix. But
Or
B,
listen
I
to
mean, the
like this
fact,
podcast.
I know, well, let's hope.
Let's
Uh,
hope.
or just the fact that, Joe Exotic, his little zoo, and all, it's like this was a functioning zoo. And when you see the craziness that went on around it, I mean, um, I don't know. It's like it's amazing to think of what people will look past just to have an experience,
Right.
right? Just to go and hold a tiger cub or whatever it is. They'll sit through this guy with a mullet and a pink sequin button-down shirt singing country songs to the audience just so they can go look at a tiger or whatever it is.
So can you kind of like back up, because like I don't even know the premise of the show, other than this guy is
Oh,
crazy and apparently it's a
so
functioning zoo
yeah,
now.
the premise is this crazy guy,
Okay.
Joe Exotic.
Joe Exotic is his name. Okay.
Joe Exotic, in Oklahoma, is
Naturally.
yeah, a gay polygamist zoo owner slash wannabe country singer. Actually ran for president in 2016.
Oh.
Ran for governor of Oklahoma. Like, I don't
So it's one of these
really
guys
is
that does crazy
really
things.
just super narcissist kind of guy. Um, Walks around in a cowboy hat and sequin button or satiny shirts and I don't know. It's just bizarre, and it's not just him. It's the entire uh, cavalcade of other people that are involved, and the whole premise of the show is him and his little, I'll call it a zoo, his little traveling circus of a zoo, and the battle between him and this lady in Florida who owns a sanctuary, a tiger sanctuary, but she still charges people to come in and look at tigers.
Mm.
So it's really more like a zoo, but not. And her and PETA trying to shut him and his zoo down, and him trying to get back at her, and just that whole struggle back and forth.
Okay. So it's like Real Housewives of the Lion Kingdom. So
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
and it's like it's that, and it's just is it real? Is it true? Or is
Yeah,
it like
yeah, all
okay?
true.
So it's like documentary, like this stuff's really
Yeah,
happening.
it's straight up documentary,
Oh,
and
gosh.
and then it brings in. I mean, they interview. They interview like these workers who work at the zoo, and they talk about how awful Joe is, how mean he is, how low, how much they don't get paid. They work from 7 in the morning till 10 at night.
Jeez.
Just how terrible it is. And they're like, well, how long have you worked here? Oh, about 10 years. They're like, well, why? Oh, because I get to work with tigers. It's like, so it's just
You get to
crazy to
work with
think of the things
tigers.
that people will endure,
Right.
just for the right experience. And, you hate to think, well, gee, how can I translate that to marketing terms?
Right.
But at the same time, you know, you got to figure out in the marketing world what differentiates you from anybody else. If we go back to the whole spray and pray kind of mentality, if you're sending out thousands of email blasts and, 5 to 10 social media posts a week, are you turning into noise at that point?
Right.
Versus putting out content that is, I'm not going to say Tiger King worthy, but content that at least
got high standards for that, right? To say it's Tiger King worthy.
Yeah, but put up content, that sets you apart, and that makes people want to engage, right? And I mean, our company sells displays and fixtures to retail, so we work with retail, and the top retailers in the world, and they're all talking about the ever-changing retail landscape, with online shopping.
Right.
So how's that changed a brick and mortar store, right? It's all about the experience of shopping.
Yeah.
Of coming in, and how does that change for each retailer? So that's changing the whole landscape of retail, and the way people buy and interact with stores. So the idea of the experience is really, I mean, it's critical for our customers in retail. Obviously critical for Joe Exotic and his zoo, although he's in prison now, so that's a whole different.
Oh, he's in prison now?
Yeah, he's
now,
in
is that a
prison
spoiler? Should I have seen the show to know this? Or
no, you pretty much see it coming.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And in fact, some of the interview pieces, they're talking to him from prison.
Oh, jeez.
But
does he have an accent too? Is it like Joe Exotic?
Oh yeah.
Howdy. I don't even know. I don't know what an Oklahoma.
Yeah. He's full Oklahoma.
My name is Joe.
Yeah. But it's just the idea of as a marketer, you instead of creating tons of content, create the right content that sets you apart, that engages your customer, and draws them into whatever you're promoting, to whatever you're putting out there. If you're going to put a campaign together, put it in a way that draws them in, leads them through, offers them value, through various steps of that process. Don't spray and pray and just put a bunch of things out there. Put the right things out there, and put it out there maybe in a way that you can get more information over time, or build through that relationship. Again, and it depends. Who's your customer? Is it somebody you already know, so you just need to move them down an education point on a product, or is it a new person that you got to educate them about you and your value proposition as a whole? So, what are you putting out there as a marketer?
I love this. Your next book here is Tiger King Marketing by Robb Northrup.
I'm sure somebody's already got that going right now.
I'm sure we'll name the episode after you as well. This is perfect.
There you go.
You are the Tiger King of marketing, sir. So how do you make this content stand out like that? And how do you do it in a way that doesn't get you in jail, and also doesn't come across like a con, but at the same time is interesting, does get they want to sit up, pay attention?
Yeah, the number one thing for us is knowing your customer. Who are you talking to, right? Am I talking to, a decision maker, or am I just talking to a procurement person? What is the particular pain point for that person? And not that, a low level purchasing person isn't worth marketing to, but it's a different message. Your message to them is, the ideas of bringing value and finding what their objectives are too, and their actual position. Like what is your customer trying to achieve personally and from a business standpoint? What are the problems that they actually have? And then come in and say, look, I understand your problems. Here's what I understand them to be. And here's the ways that we solve them, both for your business and for you. Because at the end of the day, you want to help your customer be a rock star.
Right.
Speaking of which, did I see something on Twitter about you being some sort of marketing superstar?
Oh yeah,
what was that?
I have many leather-bound books in my house. Smells of rich mahogany. Oh, Salesforce. There's this new program called Marketing Champions.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's out now. So I'm one of the several marketing champions out there, and it's a pretty
Nice.
cool group. So not so much me being on it, but all the other people that are on it. It's pretty neat to be all those names up there. It's also an indicator of who's doing a good job of tweeting and being social, related to
Gotcha.
being a
Do you get
marketer.
like a special cape to wear with that?
I should demand one, honestly.
I don't think so.
A la Tiger King fashion. I should require a cape if they want to use my name and likeness.
Exactly.
Totally. I love that you went to like number one is knowing your customer, because I think that's the thing. Like, we could trick people with some Tiger King stuff with a cape. We'll get their attention. Like, you can get that. You can spam someone. You'll get their attention. But the challenge is usually the message is all wrong. Like, we don't actually know who they are, and so they just
Mhm.
insta delete it. So all that work and money you spent didn't actually matter. That ad you put on Facebook didn't matter. And for the longest time on Facebook, I was like, come on, it's 2020, whatever, whatever year I was doing this first thought, where it was like, why are the ads terrible for me on Facebook? So I went and I liked a bunch of things, because I was like, okay,
Yeah.
they need some more data on me, because I'm not picking up what they're putting down. So I go like REI and like Mount Kilimanjaro and other things to hopefully give some more
Yeah.
data points to these advertisers, so they stop showing me stupid stuff and start showing me things I might be tempted to buy, which is what we want in the first place, is things that we could actually
Right.
use or need or dream about. And it still has been not very good, but I will say Instagram, for some reason, weird because it's the same company, but Instagram has me almost pretty much figured out, because the other day I saw one thing, I was like, gotta have that, order. Saw something else, I was like, gotta get that as a present for the missus, order. And then I saw a
Yeah.
third thing, I was like, wait, hold on a second. Close the app down. Like, what's going on here? How do they know? But
Yeah. Right.
they, you know, maybe in this case it's ones and zeros, but the idea of knowing your customer and then offering them things that will actually help their pain, that's just not a bother. That's a help. Like, I'm
Yeah.
waiting for one day when I'm watching TV and an ad comes up that is like, are you having trouble getting, you know, your leads to be qualified or something? I'm like, hey, that's a great challenge. I would love to get some information on that. Yes, TV,
Right.
but send me that information. Like, come on, like, let's step up our ad game.
Yeah. And if we want to go back to sales and marketing alignment piece,
Do
if
it.
you as a marketer can't get in front of your customer, to know them at that level, and you can do surveys, but surveys I have always felt sort of hit and miss. I don't know if you get really
Agree.
the honest, thing about it. Interview your sales team. Say,
Mm,
hey, can I get 20 minutes? I just want to talk to you and find out, what is the people that you talk to, what
right.
are they like? What are they looking for? What do they want? And interview them if you can't get in front of the customers. And if you're lucky enough, say, hey, when you go on the next sales call with whoever, can
Yeah.
I tag along, just sit in on it,
Yeah.
as a marketing representative? I mean, they may say no or whatever, but it's worth a shot of
Yeah.
getting. The further along you get, and you'll find, there's obviously common themes depending on job title and whatnot. So, when it gets to developing those personas, you can start to understand that. It's like, oh, well, I've really got maybe 6 different personas based on, who we're talking to or what the industry is or what the customer segment,
Yeah.
however you want to break it up. And depending on what their job title is, that, if I'm talking to, VP of something, I need to be super high level. If I'm talking to, sort of the main thought person on it, that's a different level. Or if I'm down at somebody who's, just, cutting checks, that's a
Sure.
totally different, message. I gotta, speak to that person.
Yeah, that's totally true. And you're right. I mean, the personas, they help you reduce the busy work around the
Yeah.
noise. I mean, you mentioned the beginning, you spray and pray, and you've got all these geographies and industries and all these different kinds of people so you just shooting stuff everywhere. But your point was like, I'd have to create like hundreds of white papers for all these different products and thousands of
Yeah.
products and people that might buy it. But if you got your personas figured out, it kind of helps you reduce the target.
Yeah. 100%.
Cool, man. Anything you see coming around the bend? Anything in the future we should keep our eyes open for, or just watch out for? Any freight trains coming our way, or
You know,
any
right now
unicorns?
it's such a in unicorns, uh, in rainbows. Um, right now it's I think everything's sort of up in the air. I
Yeah,
think we've got to get through this whole COVID-19 thing and
right.
see what does the world look like. Does it go back to normal? Does it go back to the way it was? Is there a dramatic shift to working from home? From a a salesperson's perspective, especially, it's like,
Mhm.
well, what if these people aren't coming back to their office? What if they stay working from home? What is visits like? Is it more, Zoom meetings like this,
Mhm.
or how are you interacting with your customers?
Right.
Um, and if that's the case, are we doing more webinars, less webinars? Is it, you know, I think it's a unique time, to sort of, you know, see where sort of sit back and watch and see where things are sort of going and figure
Mhm.
out, where's the next sort of pivot going
Yeah.
to happen. Because I mean, and some businesses right now are trying to figure out how do they pivot
Yeah.
because their business is sort of tanked because of this whole COVID-19 thing. So their whole normal is shot. So you've got to figure out, okay, what do I have to do different right now? And then what do I have to do different as as I keep going, just to keep my business afloat, you know?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, it's definitely hard to think, oh, what's happening in the future with cool technology? It's like, well, beyond the technology, what's happening right now with the way our buyer habits are changing? We're all buying a bunch
yeah,
of stuff on Amazon. We're not going to the office. A lot of
yeah,
businesses have stopped buying things, or paused. So there's a lot of changes, and you're right. Do we? It's like what I wrote down as you were saying that was like, what changes and what stays the same. That's the curious thought. How much of us do more Zoom in the future? How much of us do
right,
more Zoom with webcam in the future? I think people are shy. Like at Chesh, we always do video internally all the time because it's like our conversation now. Like people might be listening, but we can see each other. It's a real conversation. We're not, it's not a, I don't think you're a Google algorithm,
yeah,
doing an interview. I think you're a real person. So it's like that's so important. And so I think we've started doing that, even like client calls and sales calls. Like, why not get the humanity back in the situation? Will that
yeah,
change? Will people go back to being shy and no longer on Zoom afterward? Or does that stay the same? You know what? And in school too, a lot of virtual school happening right now. And some
yeah,
teachers are great at it and some aren't. And what stays and what's different after that?
yeah. I agree. Yeah, my daughter's doing that. You know, a lot of her. So she's taking. She's high schooler, but takes classes through the college. And a lot of them have been online.
Damn,
And
that's
like
impressive.
next semester, she was supposed to start taking some at the college. But now we're like, well, I wonder if that's going to be the case. Or are they going to shift them all to online? Or,
Yeah.
you know, so I think there's a lot of facets, to our, uh, overall environments. It's like not just business, education. Is that going to change?
Yeah.
What's going to change in our day-to-day lives, or the way you go shop? Are people going to do more buy online, or are they going to buy online and pick up at the store, or are they going to have the personal shopper do this? I think it's sort of all over the board. I do imagine that when everything is lifted, all the restrictions are lifted, that I think there will be an influx of people just getting
Yeah.
out, right, and
100%.
going out, and
Sign me up.
it's like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
just run out to do anything that they used to do normal.
Get me
Um,
to a store. I found
yeah,
one of my weekly routines now is on a Saturday. I hop in the Jeep and head up to. We have a local craft brewery called Abel Ebenezer, which is a cool name because it was like the first Revolutionary War hero for the U.S. from New Hampshire, and his name was Abel Ebenezer, and so they named a beer after him, and a couple of veterans came thing. And so I just bounce up there, and you pick up some beer to go, and they got some good tasty stuff up there. But it's like anything to get out of the house, and they're very clean up
yeah,
there, and we're not hanging out and whatnot. But like, yeah, get me out. Let me. let me socialize. I know there's some people that are like, I don't mind not socializing for several months here, but I'm like, I do. Let's go, people. Where can I go? Like, what flights can I book instantly as soon as I know this is done? Just sort of just get out.
Exactly.
So I think you're right. There will be this sort of this surge of purchases and buying, and I rightly so, because the restaurants have gotten tanked, and so we can try to help them out as much as possible. But what happens after that? After that sort of that crest, does it settle back in? Are we all a little bit more conservative about spending money? Those kind of things. And I know I've saved a lot of
Yeah.
money lately. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Not spending any money on gas right now. That's for sure.
Gas or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of nice. Seeing that bank account, like, huh? Or you look at the credit card statement, you're like, that would normally be twice as much or more, and you're like, well,
Right.
actually, it's kind of nice having a small bill each month, and
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's good to get out. So we'll have to find that balance when we do.
Yeah. I agree.
So here's my next question for you, for Tiger King of Marketing. Who are you? Where did you come from? Take us back, like little Rob days. I know it's terrible. People in Oklahoma now hate me, but yeah, who are you? Like, where are you from?
Yeah. Grew up in northern Illinois, in Rockford, Illinois,
Wow,
or as we lovingly call it, Rock Vegas.
Rock
Um,
Vegas, nice.
yeah. Actually, the home of Cheap Trick. If you're a Cheap Trick fan.
There you go.
Grew up there. My dad was worked in a factory, so sort of blue collar
Working
life.
people,
And,
right? Just
yeah.
putting in the effort, working it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, just grew up, and then as I got into junior high and high school, really got into music,
Nice.
and a lot of the. I was always a big fan. I think I got from my dad of learning. My dad always had this thing that, there's a right way to do something, and there might be a new right way to do something. Right? You should figure out how to do anything that there is, that you come across. Figure out how to do it, and then look and see if there's a better way to do it, and then see if there's another better way to do it.
Which is a great marketing mantra, by the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I agree.
Constantly improving.
Well, it's the whole thing, that constant improvement, constant evaluation. It's
That's great.
Don't just put stuff out there just for the sake of putting it out there. It's like you look at it and say, okay, this is bad. How do I do this better? How does somebody else do it better?
That email, there's a right way.
Yeah.
Figure it out and then find a better way. That's cool.
Exactly. So sort of grew up with that mentality. So, got through high school, and I was myself, into music. I was a musician.
What do you play?
In high school, I was a saxophone player.
Okay.
I was an all-state sax player.
Did you do the band, like marching band?
Yeah, I did marching band. We marched in the Peach Bowl back when the Peach Bowl existed.
Kidding.
That was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I did trumpet, and I did band, like marching band too. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I did marching band, concert band, jazz band.
Yeah, me too. That's
all
cool.
that good stuff. And then I didn't think I was a good player, but I wasn't like professional player.
Right.
Kind of mentality. But I was, on the academic side, I was really good at math and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll be an engineer or something. I was trying to figure out college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And a buddy of mine pointed me to the school in Boston, Berklee College of Music, and said, well, there's a music school where you can go be a recording engineer and producer. I was like, oh, I knew that those things existed, but I never crossed my mind to put those two together. So applied, got accepted, got some scholarships, and moved to Boston. And I actually never even visited the school. I just got accepted. I'm like, okay, I'm going. And then when it was time to go, I hopped on the plane with all my stuff and moved to Boston.
Berklee is it's a famous music school. It is one of, if not the famous music school. Was it easier? I won't say easier to get in, but I've heard stories of if you're going for actual music, you have to audition and all that stuff. Did you have to do that, or because you're doing engineering, you're able to kind of avoid the onslaught?
Actually, anything that you do that you've got to, I think you have to audition to a certain degree. So
Okay.
like even the engineering part. So you did your first year of stuff, and your engineering and production stuff didn't start until the second year, and you actually had to audition and go through interview process
Wow.
for that. In fact, I remember one of my freshman roommates wanted in the same program, and he didn't get in, so he didn't come back second year.
Oh, really? So
Yeah,
what's the first year? Just core stuff? And do you have to play an
yeah,
instrument then? You
yeah.
play sax?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So there was
Wow.
still you had to do your full music stuff. So that involved harmony classes, ear training classes,
Wow.
lessons. You still had to do all the music stuff.
Wow.
You also
That's
had to take
cool.
your
That's
standard.
cool.
You had to
Yeah.
take your standard classes like Western civilization and
Yeah.
English, and you had to take all this stuff. And then once you got into whatever program you were in, then it sort of determined what additional things. So
Yeah.
when I got into the engineering and production side, I had to take, of course, audio engineering classes and physics around that. I had to take business classes because being a music producer is more business oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of business and contract negotiation and a lot of legal stuff around that. So I mean, it was, and you still had to take some of your core academic classes just to get an actual bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
So it was crazy because I would go to school during the day, I would work in the evening, and then usually one of the best times to book studio time when you had to do our studio projects, because we'd have to go in and record, whatever. It's like you have an assignment to redo an old Motown hit. So you'd have to get all the people together, get the band together, get the engineer, get everybody together in the studio, and record it and submit it for your assignment. And so one of the best times to book studio time was actually midnight to 6 a.m.
Naturally. Yeah.
So I would go, school during the day, work at night, be in the studio all night, and then sort of repeat. Luckily, I'd have like some days where I'd have fewer classes, so I'd like crash in between those times. But yeah, it was a whirlwind.
And were you like this sought after commodity of like, we need someone to help us in the studio, when you got a bunch of people playing stuff and they're like, Rob, are you free?
I wasn't asked to play a lot. I was asked to come in and engineer and mix sessions a lot. Yeah. So
it's like you made your own Def Jam records while you're at Berkeley kind of thing.
It was funny. And the cool thing is like just all the people that me. I mean, there's people that I hung out with that are, I'll call them mildly famous now. I'm not going to drop any names, but
you should drop names.
It's just no, I'm not dropping.
Okay.
But it's just cool to see them out. You turn on the TV, it's like, there's
no, really. You see some of your your friends from school. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just cool. But when all said and done, I got out of college. I had some stuff lined up to sort of go and do some engineering. Initially, I was trying to get in around New York, and that fell through. And then I had some stuff lined up in Chicago, and my student loans were about to kick in. So I couldn't really afford to live in Boston anymore. Right. So I thought, well, I'll move back to Rockford and just work in Chicago. So I moved back to Rockford, and then the Chicago thing fell through. And I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
So another sort of pivot point, and I started doing some independent work, but it wasn't enough, to pay the bills per se. So I started doing some graphic design.
Yep.
I'd sort of taught myself that stuff on the side, and got in with this company that later turned into Siffron. So I've been with Siffron for over 22 years.
No kidding. Really?
Yeah.
That's a long time to be with the company. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I came on originally as a graphic designer, and then every time they said, hey, can you do, put whatever it is out there. Can you do photography? Can you do our catalogs? Can you do marketing? Can you do, any of those can you do's? I just said yes, whether I knew how to do it or not. And then going back to that, figure out how to do it kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And so you just, I'm going to apply myself. Like, I know I can do it. I just have to learn how to do it.
Right.
And so spending all that time just, learning different skill sets, understanding, what to look for and various things. A lot of stuff from, the music and general creative background translates over, not directly, but indirectly, in sort of a process and the things to look for and the eye for quality or ear for quality. That stuff translates. And then, just like, when you listen to a song, if something's not working, you hear it. This doesn't work, but here's how I need to change this song around to make it work. Same with marketing. This doesn't seem to be working. Here's how we need to change it in order to make it work, or in order to try again to see if it'll work. And just not being afraid to try things. And having that sort of creative mindset of like, oh, what can we do next? Based on what I know, what can we do next? And not be afraid to gather collective. It's like, hey, what have you done before? What do you know? Sales team, what do you know works, or what do your customers want? Like we talked about before. So being able to take all that information, process it into something that is effective for your business. Because at the end of the day, no matter what comes up, you want to be able to pivot in whatever direction that you have to pivot. And so for me, the best way to do that is to take the mentality of learn as much as I can and learn how to do as much as I can and learn how to problem solve quickly.
Right. Find the right way.
Yeah. Find the right way to do it. And the more you build that skill, the more, you have success.
Right.
And you're able to weather COVID-19 things or, whatever it is that comes by, because you're like, okay, this isn't a big deal. And I'm not downplaying COVID-19 by any means, but whatever the situation is or whatever setback is, this isn't the end, right? Life goes on. We're going to pivot. We're going to do something a little different or a lot different, whatever it is that you need to do.
Yeah. Like try to figure out what lemons you can turn into lemonade, kind of just like that positive, hopeful thinking. Like, okay, what can I do with this? Instead
Absolutely.
of panicking, let's protect our families and let's innovate and pivot. And yeah, that's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, hypothetical for you, if you could go back in time, and I may or may not have a time machine in Nashua, New Hampshire. Can't use it right now because the whole COVID thing, you could wear gloves or whatnot. But let's say you get a chance to use this time machine and go back and say hi to yourself, and you just graduated from Berkeley. You're like just new into your career. You're trying to find different things. What would you tell yourself? What kind of things would you advise yourself, knowing what you know, having been through all these different things?
I don't know. That's the tough one, because I like to think that a lot of the stuff I did, right and wrong, over the years has sort of brought me to this point, which is not necessarily a bad point.
Yeah.
So I like to think that all those things sort of shaped and made me, I'm not gonna say what I am.
It's true.
Anything great, but it's got me to the point that it's got me. And I would say if there's anything probably to change or alter, it's probably, just be a better person, be kinder, and not to say that I was a jerk or mean, but I know that there were times where I was, right?
Yeah, of course.
Where I was young and immature and stupid, and and maybe some of those things could be helped, maybe they couldn't. Maybe there's some certain amounts of that, in youthful indiscretion or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I hear you, right? Yeah, it makes sense, because it's like the career things you learn from and they shape you. Whereas as it affects other people, you're like, did I need to be a heel at that moment in time?
Yeah.
I would go back and be less of a dork. Like, come on, dude. Like, whatever. Just think about the other person for a second. Of course, we learn from those experiences too. So
exactly.
Unfortunately, with other people's costs, but hopefully it turn out better at the end after that. So Yeah. As long as we're not committing any crimes, like we're all learning here. And maybe those people learn from those experiences too. So
Yeah.
good stuff. So I know you're big into tell me about this mentoring thing. Have you been doing that for a while?
Yeah. Not so much in the last couple of years. So, like I said, I was from Rockford. 2 years ago, moved out to the Cleveland area. So that's where I'm at now. So world changed quite a bit there. But when I was living in Rockford, we were involved through our church with the high school youth. Specifically, I worked with the junior and senior high school boys. Really, it was just forming those relationships and helping them through that transition out of high school.
Yeah.
And the sort of anxieties that build up with there. I don't remember having the anxieties that I see in today's junior and senior high boys, especially.
Really?
Yeah, they seem to be really like fearful and freaked out about the future. And it's like just trying to help them understand, or even with issues that they're facing in high school. It's like, look, when you're out of high school, you're gonna that's all gonna be gone. Like all the people that you have problems with, they're gonna be gone. You'll have new people that you have problems with, but all those problems are gonna be behind you, right? But just helping through, like, okay, look, things aren't going to be as bad or as bleak or whatever as you think, or even necessarily as hard as you think they are. But it's just trying to help them transition from that scared unknown to we're going to figure things out mentality. We're going to find that right way of doing it. Yeah. Trying to switch that mentality around, being like, okay, I know you're used to this and this is going to go away. So what are you going to do next? And not that you have to have here's how my whole life's going to play out, because it's not.
Right.
Whatever you plan is not, and that's where I could use my example. Look, I was going to be a famous music producer. I'm not a big famous music producer, but I'm doing all right, and I'm here, and I'm going to tell you it's going to be all right. And so, just working with them that way. And we worked with my wife and I have done mentoring with marriages where people have been, instead of going to seek counseling, start by doing like a marriage mentoring and sort of work with them through communication issues and sort of just some baseline things, depending on how severe the relationship is in the marriage.
Do you have a favorite? Because I it's one of my favorite topics too, is just idea of communicating and relationships like that. Do you have like a favorite marriage book that you often tell couples to go read or anything like that?
Actually, there's one called Love and Respect that we
great book.
Like.
Totally love that book.
So that's sort of the core of what we talk about. When we do our marriage mentoring, the funniest thing is the number one issue that you deal with, the number one topic is communication. Number one topic. Yep. Like that, and all the other issues, whether it's money or kids or anything else, all goes back to that communication. And it's usually about assumptions, right? It's about,
of course.
I have this assumption that when I say this, they think they hear this, right? Or if they knew how I felt, they wouldn't have done that. Well, obviously they don't know how you feel, or they might not have done that, or they might, but if you're not talking about it, then you've got issues.
Right.
But, if you want to go back to marketing, and it's the same thing, if you're making assumptions about your customers. Then, or even if you let your bosses or executives make assumptions about what you do, that may be good or it may not. You've got to be communicative. You've got to be communicative with your sales team in order to have a sales and marketing line. You have to communicate with your customers in the way that they need to be communicated to, not just in the way, not in your own product speak per se, but in the way that in the language that they're speaking.
Right.
So what terms are they using? What are the issues they're facing? So.
Yeah. It's like listening to a friend tell you how to deal with your significant other. Oh yeah, Bart, this is what you got to do. Like, wait a minute, the guy I'm listening to is, divorced 9 times. Maybe I should. you know,
Yeah, weigh that a little
yeah,
bit.
weigh that a little bit. Or yeah, oh, he totally likes this. Like, I don't know, maybe just ask the person themselves if they like X, Y, and Z. That's so true. And when I think about you mentioned the anxiety around school and college, it's so true. It's like the great unknown. There's so many unknowns, but what it ends up being, if I were to tell myself like some advice, it's like, hey, it's the exact same subject matter you learned in high school for at least like the first year and a half or two, and they're just gonna give you more freedom. So it's like, can you still complete the same work you just did a year ago with complete and utter freedom of yourself?
Yeah,
That's really the challenge. And it's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
I could go to the beach all night, or I could learn Spanish 1 all over again.
yeah. And I think what some of it, one of the reoccurring themes I would hear is this feeling that if they screwed it up, whether that's high school or picked the wrong major or whatever, that they would screw up their entire life.
Oh yeah, I get you. Like
You
this
know, it's like
mistake,
this
I'm yeah,
anxiety that, oh, if I don't get the right grade, or if I don't get in the right school, or if I don't pick the right major, like I'm not gonna make X amount of
where
dollars,
does
or
that come from? Do you think, is that from parents? Are we
uh,
trying to
well,
make
I think
them
yeah,
work harder? Yeah,
yeah, I think it's a parent thing, and it may be directly parents, it may be indirectly parents.
yeah,
You know, it might be I want the best for my kid, so I'm going to
yeah,
do all these things, but the kid translates that as, well, then I need to do all these things in order to, you know, do this
right,
or get this or be, you know, whatever.
yeah. I mean, it's like it matters, but not to drive yourself crazy over, you know?
Right.
So it's like that healthy balance of like, ooh, this really matters. I should step up to the plate. If I need to be nervous, I'll be nervous. But at the same time, have it in balance that, it's you goofy things are going to happen. It's your response to those goofy things that's really going to test you.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell my kids, I say, look, listen, learn as much as you can about as much as you can.
Yeah.
And that way, by the time you're out of school, whether that's high school, college, whatever level you go through, then you're equipped to figure it out at that point and try this. And if that works, great. And if it doesn't, then you try this. And, you know, you have to be equipped to try and fail and then try again,
Yeah.
versus, you know, if you're just equipped to do this one thing and you try it and you fail, well, then, yeah, I can see why you'd be anxious.
Right. Life is over. Game over. No, there's
Exactly.
there's many chapters in that path you can follow. There's so
Yeah.
many things you can do with that. One of the things I found too was interesting with college. I had done a lot in high school, almost like master of nothing, but like really good at jack of all trades kind of thing. So it was
Yeah.
like soccer, karate, band, trumpet, and I was like, oh, I could, it's theater too. And so like
Yeah.
when I got to college, I like auditioned for all of that, and then got in all of that because they're like, yeah, sure, come on aboard. But they all wanted it to be your total commitment, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I remember being like, yeah, I'll audition for the chorus or whatnot. It seems like a pretty fun group. They're like, yeah, we're going to go traveling in Europe and singing in different abbeys. So that doesn't work with soccer or anything else, or, like all the different programs were like, you can't have anything else. You must only have us. And I hit this like
Yeah.
really tragic moment. I remember the day where I realized I was also in ROTC. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do any of these things because I'm in ROTC and I have a scholarship for them. But like, it was
Yeah.
so depressing because I wanted to do all these things, but each
Yeah.
one wanted like college level commitment on each one of those things. And it was like, oh, you got to pick or choose. So
Yeah.
that was like one of those like terrible lessons to learn, but
Well,
yeah,
it's
but
probably a
you
good
come
lesson
through at
too.
the end.
You know,
What's
it's
that?
a good lesson. It's a good lesson. It's like you can't do everything.
You can't do everything. Yeah, like your spray and pray. You can't spray and pray all
Exactly.
your college activities.
Yeah.
You have to pick
Even
up.
if all these things sound great, you
Yeah.
know, emails and social and
Yeah.
catalogs and postcards, it all sounds great, but you can't unless you have a massive marketing staff, which,
Right.
as far as I know, nobody has it.
Right. Right. Certainly not right now, for sure.
No.
Well, this has been awesome, man. Where can people connect with you if they want to just, get more information or just say hi, throw some sites
Yeah.
at us and all that?
I mean, LinkedIn, of course, is a great place to, you know, connect.
Yeah.
you can reach me through there. I'm on Twitter, but I don't tweet a whole lot. But otherwise, our company is Siffron. So you can visit us at www.siffron.com. I don't really have a personal website out there. Not yet, anyway. Too busy marketing, living life.
And if somebody's a budding recording artist and they're like, I need some engineering, can they send you a message and be like, hey, come to my flat in London or down in Miami and edit, do some mastering for me?
Yeah, I can definitely steer them in the right direction.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
But definitely reach out through LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to
best channel.
If you want to actually get in touch with me. So.
That's perfect, man. Well, Rob, thanks again for being on here. This has been fun.
No problem, man. It's a good time.
You schooled me about the Tiger King, and I got to say, those people listening, if you learned something, and I know you did because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, then share this with someone else, right? Be a thought leader to like 1 person, to like 9 people, to 58 people. Just get the information out there and be that person that's kind of like, hey, I heard this. You should check this thing out. Be a Tiger King marketer. Get that information out. Cut through the noise. And again, Rob, thanks again for coming on here.
All right. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. This has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.
All right. A big thank you to today's sponsors. Cheshire Impact, helping marketers and sales win, maximizing the use of Pardot and Salesforce. And a big thank you to Qualified.com, the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Remember the giveaway. If you have Salesforce Pardot and you want a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, then you go over to Qualified.com, engage in a chat, do a demo, and tell them that Casey sent you, and that book will be on its way to your door. All right. We'll see you all in the next one.